Good day, everyone. My name is Aaron McIntosh. I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at ActZero. Joining me in today's fireside chat to provide some insight into the importance of MDR and how it differs from SIEM is Ilker Simsir. Ilker is our Director of Product Management here at ActZero. Welcome, Ilker.
Thank you, Aaron. Glad to be here.
Quick housekeeping notes before we get started. For those who are just joining a Bright Talk conversation for the first time, we are going to hold all questions to the end. If you have any questions, over on the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a little question mark. That is the prompt to submit questions, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible at the end of the session. If by chance we don't get to all questions, what we will do is email the group with the questions and answers that we happen to miss. So let's get started. Many businesses looked to security information event management services, or SIEM, solutions to improve the security posture or even meet compliance requirements. SIEMs were designed to give companies a centralized view of security events and someplace to help see, detect, and respond to threats. The big question of the day, though, is, are SIEMs as effective at managing your security organization as compared to other solutions like managed detection and response, or even XDR? Today, we're going to examine just that and help you decipher the role each solution play in your organization. So, Ilker, let's dig in. There's a lot of confusion in the market regarding SIEM, what it is, what it does, and how it fits into an organization's cybersecurity. I guess the same can be said about MDR, XDR, and the like. Can you take a few moments to define and separate those options for us?
Definitely. So, thank you for this opportunity again. And I think I would like to start this by defining what's a traditional SIEM. So, traditional SIEMs are used in the market mostly for log management or basic form of threat hunting. And what it does is basically ingest data from multiple sources and then make it available to you in terms of, again, querying, in terms of visualization. So it will allow you to investigate. So traditional SIEM is, let's say, on this level. And then we have managed SIEM. So what you're doing is using the same tool, but someone helping you on getting the outcomes that you're looking for. So you're outsourcing some of the management capability to some other party. Then we have XDR. So I think XDR is a good revolution or evolution on the SIEM. And what it does is it's not only getting data, but it gets the data from multiple sources. It should be basic, like ideally include endpoint, network, and cloud. But some of them are claiming the XDR even before doing that. But again, ideally, you will get the data just like you're doing it to the SIEM. And then it is much more security-centric and much more integrated platform, but it is still the platform that will be enabling you for automated detection and response, and it will enable you to take those actions on your side. It is much more focused on security versus SIEM could be used also for operational needs like dashboarding and that, just like you mentioned. So XDR is a step ahead of that traditional SIEM market. And then we have MDR. So MDR is not referring to technology. So technology could be SIEM, traditional SIEM. Technology could be an EDR, endpoint detection and response, or XDR. By the way, like XDR has multiple definitions on the market. Like I think Gartner is calling it as extended detection and response, and some of the vendors are calling it as everything detection and response. I like the second letter more. So, but if you think about, again, MDR, it is not implicating to the platform. It is saying, hey, we are helping you on your security journey by augmenting your team. And the best MDR companies as of today are using the best of breed of technologies like EDRs and XDRs rather than traditional SIEMs.
Confusion. I know both organizations, Gartner and Forrester alike, they've both been trying to overcome those definitions of SIEM. I know Forrester, I believe it's just yesterday, put a paper out there talking about putting better boundaries around both SIEM and XDR. So I'd invite anyone to go check out that paper if you get a chance. And I know Gartner's done something similar in the last couple of months, really trying to define that space a little bit more. But before we discuss each of these options that you just mentioned, or each of these platform and technologies, given your expertise and experience, let's talk about what you believe the 3 to 5 most modern requirements for comprehensive cybersecurity solutions are.
Sure. I think before we jump to the solutions, I would like to talk a little bit more about the general problems, like what are the problems in cybersecurity that we are trying to address, either with these tools or with a managed detection and response service. So one problem is now we have too many data. Like we have multiple platforms already running, like endpoints, networks, clouds, as well as like web gateways, this and that. So there are a lot of security tools already running on your environment. And you are getting data, like all of them are generating data. You have to keep an eye on almost all of them. So there's a lot of data that you need to sift through. And second, we are getting much more attacks nowadays. Like attack rate is accelerated a lot due to the lucrative business of ransomware kind of thing. So there's a lot of money on the business, and it drives a lot of non-professionals as well as professionals to this thing. And like we are seeing much more attacks over time. And third one is all of these contributes to also the noise. So we are seeing a lot of security companies emerging, and they are also asking for, like, claiming the similar things. Yeah, we are the ultimate solution. We are going to do this. We are going to do that. And it is really hard to be a customer in this environment. Like they don't know what is what. They don't know which one is really the ultimate solution. They don't know which one is killing 2 birds or 3 birds. So it's really hard to be a customer in this environment as well. And probably the last point that I would like to mention as a problem is scarcity of a talent. So we all know that like there are like millions of unfulfilled jobs in cybersecurity. And it's a problem. It's an ongoing issue. So if you think about these problems in mind, I would say like maybe 3 to 4 different elements of modern cybersecurity solution. One, it should be built for security from the beginning. So it should be purposefully built, it should be holistic, it should be giving you a holistic experience, and it should be integrated. So you shouldn't be jumping from platform to platform in a day-to-day basis to do your job, to protect your company, to know what's going on. So it should be single holistic view with everything included and start to finish. Second, it should be getting data from all of these different tools. Again, like we mentioned about networks, endpoints, clouds, and more. And the platform should be able to get this data from all of these places. It's not only enough to get the data, but it should be normalizing so that you can run a single query to get the data from all of them. It should be enriching the data. So you shouldn't be trying to merge the data from one source to the other one, or trying to enrich, like get a context from looking from other places. Context should be in that as well. And then it should be ideally making these stealth detections, not like, hey, there's like millions of alerts on here, another million on here, but it should be really sifting the truth and having like a good algorithms, ideally AI ML integrated algorithms, so it can distill through these things and it will show you really what you need to care about. And then even better, it can respond automatically to the highest confidence things. So again, like ideally you will be just watching what's going on and it will be visualizing you what's going on, but that's it, what you are looking for. So, and then third one is, again, I mentioned a little bit about automation on this workflow, but machine learning AI is helping all of us on multiple industries a lot, but cybersecurity especially. So we are getting a lot of detections much better than before. So before, when we were saying, yeah, if there's more than 5 like failed login, do something. Now it's not 5 login. Like now we can say, hey, look for the anomaly. Maybe for that person, which never logged in a year, the first failed login is anomaly. Versus for me, I'm always typing my password wrong. So maybe the 10th one is the anomaly. So now we are, by knowing the person or framing the person better, analyzing the person better, now we know what we need to act on and we can decrease the noise a lot. And the last part is it should augment your team's capability. So again, like it's hard to have a team. It's hard to keep a team. It's hard to find all of the skill sets needed. So your solution should be augmenting what you have and lifting you to the best capabilities in the industry.
Actually, in one of our last fireside chats with Jen, our head of operations, we had actually talked about that as well, because we were talking about how ML and AI enabled the SOC, by better detections, better fidelity, cutting down the needless alerts, which then opened up the threat hunters to talk a little bit more and to do a little bit more proactive threat hunting, which at the end of the for customers was more about less alerts. And when you did get an alert, you knew you had to action on it if in fact the MDR or your other provider hadn't done that in advance. So I agree with everything you said. Thank you for breaking that down. Now let's jump a little bit more. Given your understanding of traditional SIEMs, let's delve a little bit deeper on them. So what do they do well? What do you see as the most common challenges for them related to like collection, detection, investigation, and response? And then maybe even talk about, start to talk about the evolution of them as well.
Sounds good, yeah. So again, traditional SIEMs serve a purpose. They are good at like ingesting the data and bringing it to a single data lake, and then allowing you to investigate data or visualize that data. And again, it served a purpose. But again, today's requirements are much higher than that. So while they are good at those things, I think they still like has a lot of weakness on showing you what's really you need to act on. Like it's not distilling anything. So there are a lot of alert fatigue, there are a lot of false positives, there are a lot of tuning on ongoing basis that you need to do, or when you fall short, you are not getting the benefit from the tool. And I don't know what's the source of this data, but I read on some place that traditional, or let's say average lifespan of a SIEM deployment is around a couple of years. So when people buy something and then couldn't get the value, they try to replace it with the new hope, and then they're like doing it on average couple of years. So when you look at these kind of things, again, SIEMs are serving a purpose, but it requires a lot of effort from your side, and people realize that, yeah, we need to up-level this platform. And again, that's kind of where XDRs are playing right now. So let me get to the evaluation part. The ingestion and investigation is great, but you need detection and response on top of that one, right? So now we are seeing a lot of traditional SIEM vendors trying to add these kind of capabilities by integrating AI, ML to their platform, by integrating SOAR to their platform, which is great. But the thing is this, let me give you an analogy. If you think about having a 1970 Mustang versus 2021 Mustang, like you can always have the 1970 Mustang, and you can start integrating climate control. You can start integrating entertainment system. But does it still have the same safety features with your 2021 Mustang, right? Probably it will be hard to get a line departure. It will be get to have a crash avoidance technology. And even if you get everything, would they be working in conjunction together? Would it be integrated together that it would be seamless as 2021 Mustang, right?
Yeah.
So I think today's what we are seeing today is kind of that kind of evolution. So traditional SIEM vendors has this 70 Mustang, and they are trying to like bolt something in that so they can make it like 2021 Mustang, right? So I think it's a good approach, but again, I would much rather prefer the platforms that's always started with this mindset and with modern technologies.
Yeah, I think it goes to that old dilemma that people are very afraid of touching what's not broken. So if the SIEM's working for them right now, they're familiar with the SIEM, they're saying, don't mess with it. I know how to work with it. I know what it's doing for me. I'm not afraid of the new technology. I'm hesitant of it. However, that new technology is starting off on such a much better plane and offers so much more. And, this is a challenge, especially in the enterprise space and large businesses. It's sometimes a costly venture to make those changes. However, sometimes it's going to cost you more in the long run not to make that change now. So
exactly. And XDR is again emerging, and I think much better, has a much better performance out of these things. So they have better distill detections due to their security focus from the beginning, due to AI, ML kind of technologies integrated, due to purposefully normalized and enriched data to create these contexts around data, and then uniformity of the detections.
Mm-hmm.
And they also mostly have the basic form of SOAR that will be enough for most organizations to automate their detections or automate the response. So again, I think while XDR is the future of the SIEM in terms of platform and technology, also not all XDR platforms are the same. So if you think about the market right now, there are a lot of trendy XDR platforms out there, and some of them are coming from EDR space, adding additional capabilities on network and cloud. Some of them are coming from SIEM space and adding more like endpoint detection and response, like automation, AI, machine learning kind of thing. Some of them are coming from SOAR, which has the automation but doesn't have the detection and response. And like last part is some of the native builds, which is, I think, again, better approach.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that I can say, yes, like SIEM is here, XDR is here, but XDR is also requiring you to have some kind of skilled team on your side, like SOC. And again, we all know that how hard it is to keep the SOC in place and how hard it is to retain the employees or skills on the organization. So I think, again, like that might be a problem with the XDR as well if you don't have that kind of confidence or skill set.
Yeah. Now, I guess one of the last questions I probably have, because I know we're gonna hit our time and we want to address any questions that have come in, but in comparison with SIEM and XDR, MDR is really expected to go a little bit further than both when it comes to not only detections, but covering things like latent risks and systems, applications, activity that can really lead to the attack. So how do MDR solutions, particular MDR with XDR technology, deliver on that quote unquote unmet promise of SIEM?
I think it's doing much better job in terms of, just like you said, like we can talk about detection and response promises, but MDR is much more than that. So only for like on detection and response aspect, again, now modern MDRs are using all the XDR and EDR platforms, either in conjunction or only XDR kind of thing. So they are trying to get the data from everywhere, including your network, endpoint, and cloud. And they are trying to automate their processes so they will be efficient and effective on finding the threats. But on top of that, if you think about MDR, it would be basically augmenting your team as however you need. It might be after hours, it might be weekends, it might be on some skills like on a higher detection or endpoint. So it is really part of your team and working for you to prevent any sort of bad thing happening. And on top of that, this was from detection and response. But on top of that, again, MDR is offering security maturity. It might be compliance, it might be a roadmap to your like most urgent needs, like roadmap for you next year, but they are working with you in terms of multiple levels, like virtual CISO as well. So I think it's really important to look for when you're making these kind of decisions. Do I need SIEM? What's my use cases? Is it like really basic? Do I need XDR? Do I have enough people? Do I have enough skilled personnel to support this platform? Or do I need the service as like all of these as a service, and I can rely on someone else and then like get to the ultimate benefit?
Yeah, so I'm listening to everything you said. I think my takeaway is really that, you know, small businesses or those with small security teams, for example, opting for SIEM, managed SIEM, or even XDR is going to be a little more problematic than promising if you don't have the team to support it. So, and that also, you know, it's a drain on your time, your resources to manage the alerts. So you really need a solution that is looking at everything comprehensively and, you know, managing those alerts to you, minimizing that impact to your teams so that you guys can do more. Hoping I got that in a nutshell. So, perfect. So now, as promised, we did leave some time for audience questions. I know we're about 21 minutes in at this point. So I am going to jump to the question queue. Okay, so the first question I have is, and feel free to type in additional questions if I do get these wrong or the intent is wrong. I've been considering SIEM. How long does it take to implement MDR? So I'm assuming that's like, you know, how long it takes to implement SIEM.
Yeah. Yep. So I have some experiences and some anecdotes. So again, SIEM, like initial deployment of SIEM, where you can start collecting data, probably will take a couple of months. But I wouldn't say you implemented SIEM in that couple of months, because again, like SIEM requires a lot of tuning, a lot of adjusting, understanding the value, creating the visuals, understanding visuals. So it takes like maybe a year to really get operational with a SIEM platform or SIEM tools. If you think about the MDR, I don't know the others, but I can talk for ours. So ours could start delivering the value in less than 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And why is it that SIEM takes so long? Is it configurability? Is it what is it? Is it the management of the logs? What is it that takes so long?
Yeah, if you think about the platform itself, it is ingesting a lot of data and it is allowing you to query and visualize things. But you need to know what you are searching for. You need to know what you are looking at. And again, figuring out those things among millions of data points, it's not easy if you haven't done it before many times.
Okay. And where MDR, we're taking on that burden for you. Like exactly. we're applying the detection, we're doing all that work, and that taking
we have that expertise already.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the next question I have is, are you able to ingest logs from my existing security tools?
Yes and no. So like being an MDR is kind of bringing some of the security stack with you. So we are destined to be hyperscale MDR company, and we already have our own tool sets, core tool set that we want to deploy so that we can ensure we are secure and we are running at the best level. But on top of that, we can also integrate with your tools to get additional data like firewall, cloud. So we can definitely leverage your environment. But again, we will be also deploying some of these things to your environment.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, this one, I've actually heard this question before. If we go with an MDR, do we lose visibility to the security events and only get alerts on what you think is a detection? So I think this is a trust question more than anything.
Yeah, so let me detonate this question a little bit. So like, first of all, I would like to say yes, because again, we don't want to bog you down with millions of records every day. We don't want to bog you down with like hundreds of alerts every day. So if we do our job well, yes, you will be getting a couple of notifications or alerts a day about something bad happening or not, if we can prevent you from doing that. But are you losing visibility? No, because we are also enabling reports, dashboards for you to look at these things on your wish. So you still have that data. We have retained that data. We visualize them. We create reports and dashboards for you. But again, day-to-day basis, I hope that you will be receiving just a couple of alerts.
Perfect. Okay, I've got a couple more here. I'm just taking a look to see if there's an order to them. Okay, the next one I have is my managed security vendor, I'm assuming like that's MSSP, manages our SIEM for us. We've asked about MDR, but they tell us that it only gives us one source of detections and that we're better off having more tools. So thoughts?
Yep. So again, if you look at the modern MDR solutions, they shouldn't be working on a single source. Like again, I can talk for our site. So we are working with endpoint solutions. We are like looking at the network data. We are looking at the cloud data, and like major platforms are all covered. And on top of these things, we are also looking for your vulnerability and hygiene status. We are also walking you through maturity models to understand your maturity and driving your roadmap. We are also providing you virtual CISO. So if you think about all of these things, I think it's poor to say, yeah, they are only taking one kind of data.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And the final question I have here is, we're looking into improving our detection and response tools. It seems that there is so much written about XDR lately. Yeah, we understand. Are MDRs becoming XDRs? Is MDR itself even a zombie, like you claim? So, lots to unpack here. So,
firstly, I think again, like on the initial intro of the call, we mentioned about different terminologies. I think there's a confusion of terminology. Like XDR is not replacement of MDR or vice versa. So SIEM and XDR is kind of a platform that you operate on, and MDR could be operating on any of these things. Okay. So let me come to the second point. Like, should we ditch the MDR and go with the XDR? Maybe. And like a lot of vendors are claiming now they're XDR company. Great. But again, like it's about what do you need. So XDR is trending. That's good, that like, and normal and understandable that you are hearing about it a lot nowadays. But the thing is, again, XDR is the platform. You need skilled people set to be able to benefit from that one at the least. But MDR is an offering that people can, like, we can augment all of your needs and team with serving you on the best of the security. So I think it's about like what do you have and what are you looking for.
Yeah, and I think that benefit to XDR is that is, as you mentioned earlier, the X can stand for everything. And I think there's this belief that XDR has this visibility everywhere, when in fact, if you look at some of the top MDRs, and I'm including ourselves in there, you know, we've got visibility to your endpoints and, you know, multiple EDR support. We have visibility into your clouds and, you know, great cloud support there. We've got visibility into your networks, and we've got next generation antivirus in there as well. So you need to look and understand, you know, what the MDRs are offering. But the end things too is, you know, we see a lot of XDRs in the market as well that don't have that depth of AI and ML that a lot of the MDRs have, because they've been working in this space for a while, and you know, they've been hyper focused on the outcomes versus just the platforms, or in other words, having an additional tool set to sell. You know, a lot of organizations are focused on the sell versus on the, you know, figuring out the outcomes and figuring out the need. So that is all great questions, by the way, and I'll only double check to make sure that we got all of them. So right now we've answered anything. If you do have questions afterwards, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll try to get as many of those covered off as possible. So it does appear that we're almost out of time. We're about 28 minutes. We'll give you a couple minutes back. Thanks, Ilker, for taking some time out of your schedule to join me today. No doubt our audience has gained considerable more insight into differentiation between SIEM and MDR and XDR and the like. There's no denying that SIEM tools can be successful at keeping your systems protected. They've been in the market for a long time, and no doubt they will be here for a bit longer. But you have given us a clearer picture of how using SIEM or its evolved successors really can be a little more costly and time-consuming, and ultimately less effective than MDRs. And thank you to our audience members. If we didn't get to your questions, or you do have any ones, again, please send them to us at info@actzero.ai, and we'll get back to you ASAP. For more information about ensuring your data and systems are secure, we're constantly turning out new content. As always, we've included a resource section for this webinar or this fireside chat. It will include a link to our recent white paper on zombie SIEM, where you're going to find a lot more details beyond what we discussed today. And you can check out our other documents as well. We have an MDR versus SIEM section on our website and available to you. And as well, we have a ton of information on MDR in general. So thanks for joining us again today. We hope you learned a little bit more about how ActZero can help you cover more ground in your journey to secure your business. Thanks, everyone.